Hi, Fashion Dolls. It is Thankful Thursday, June 12th, and welcome to an all new episode of Style by Stevie. But I would be remiss if I didn't open up the show with it being Pride Month. Today, on this day, was the Pulse nightclub tragedy. And today marks 9 years since that has happened. And I would love to take the time, take a few moments just to start my show off by remembering the ones who have lost their love, who have lost their lives in just this senseless act of tragedy. Um, Again, so I want to start the show off by opening up with that before we introduce our very special guest. I hope you all are doing wonderful as I am. Our very special guest joining me today is actor, director, writer, producer. He's a teacher, and I'm super excited to have him here in the doll house with me, Fashion Dolls. His first time ever here with me. But I wanted to start the show off with that because it is Pride Month and we are fighting so many things, so many dark entities. It's like a bulldoze of hatred coming our way in the queer community. So I just wanted to start the show off with that, take a few moments and remember the ones we lost in this senseless tragedy. All right? So, on a lighter note, let me go ahead and introduce my very special guest for today, Montez Fashion Dolls. Let me go ahead and share this live with him so that we can get him in here. It seems like IG is kind of quiet today. What is going on? It is so much going on right now out here. If you guys are going to the protest this Saturday, please be safe out there. Please be careful. I just sent the live to Montez, and hopefully he will be joining me. Welcome if you're coming in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So without further ado, let's welcome to the Dollhouse Fashion Dolls, Monteze Freeland. Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Welcome to the Dollhouse. It is such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be in the dollhouse.
Yeah, yes, yes, yes. So before we kick off this interview, how has 2025 been for you so far?
Ooh, 2025. 2025 has been a year of transformation, a year of seeing things the way that they are, a year of putting myself first, a year of lessons. But all, I'm gonna count it all good and count it all God and count it all blessings along the way, all of the lessons that I'm learning. And I'm like, wow, we only just halfway through this baby. And it's been something. It's
Yes,
been something.
it's been a journey for all of us, but we are still here. You are still flourishing. You
Come
are
on.
a writer. You are a teacher. You are a director. You are a producer. You are an actor. You wear so many hats. I like to start at the beginning of your journey because
Mm.
where you're from, you're from Baltimore, Maryland, and it's a lot of talent that has come from there as well too. So tell us about your story, your journey from the beginning to now. Who is Montez Freeland? And at what
Mm.
age did he develop a passion for acting, for directing, for writing?
That's such a good question. So I started really young. I was about 5 years old when I first started performing. And I was a kid who was really quiet. I was very shy. I'm what they would call today nonverbal. But in the 80s, I don't know if we had that language necessarily for what I was experiencing. And it was the theater that got me to find my voice. And I was put into a play when I was 5 years old because I could read well. And so they put me as a lead in our school play, which was so much fun. It was a play called Caps for Sale. And it was this experience that I'll never forget where I actually found my voice. I heard my voice. And I saw, I got bit by the bug because everybody was so excited for my journey and that big step that I took of live speaking in front of people. So it was surprising on all accounts. I didn't expect it, but once I found it, I found my purpose. So to find my purpose, or at least what I thought was my purpose, at 5 years old was kind of like, I walked on like, I know what I'm here for. Don't ask me to do nothing else. This is what I do. but probably around maybe 10 years old after performing in school, I found a theater company called the Arena Players in Baltimore, Maryland, which is the oldest continuously run African American community theater in the country,
Yeah.
located right in Baltimore, Maryland. And I performed there from the age of like 9 or 10 to 18. And that's where I cut my teeth. That's where I really learned how to be an artist, how to be an activist through my art as well, and how to be a professional, how to write and tell stories, how to find my voice as a writer and as an actor and as a director. I consider myself to be a character actor, which is I'm not going to play the leading role parts and all the romantic leads. I like more so the comedy or the villain or the
Yeah.
person coming in to shake things up a little bit. But in that space, I found not only my voice, but I found my friends who are still today close friends and colleagues who I perform with and create with. And they've gone on to create amazing things around the world. From this little company in Baltimore, we are all around the globe creating art and in meaningful ways. And from there, from my time at the Arena Players, where I was, if anyone's familiar with the show The Wire, the character Prop Joe, who was played by Robert Chu, was my mentor. And he taught me so much of what I know and so many of our friends. Robert Chu wasn't only one. Of course, there was Troy Burton and Laurie Goodman, Yvette Shipley Perkins, Andrew Dove, all these people who really poured into us, Catherine Orange, Robert Russell. And from there, I went to college, and that's how I landed in Pittsburgh. I came to Pittsburgh. I spent a year somewhere else, but we don't have to talk about that. But I came to Pittsburgh after that, and came to Pittsburgh and went to Point Park University, where I kind of got polished a little bit. They taught me about the business of the art, and that's where I learned that. And from that, I've been in Pittsburgh for about 20 years now, creating work. And I make a living as a theater artist, and that is exciting. That's rare. It's a blessing. I understand that, and I will take it. But that's been my journey. I could probably go on forever and ever, amen, about it. But I feel like that sort of gives you a beginning, middle, and now, I guess you can say.
And you're the current co-artistic director of the City Theater Company. So tell us about that. Not only that, but you were named the City Paper's Person of the Year for theater, and this is in 2021. So it goes back to what you said, which is breaking those barriers, uh,
Hmm.
using your art through activism. And when you said that, bing, a light bulb went off because it's a quote that I live by, and it's from Nina Simone. And she says this, she said, uh, an artist's job is to reflect the times.
Yeah.
So kudos to you for using
Hmm.
your talent, your gift, your God-given divine gift, and bringing awareness to issues that go on in the world. Because we can go through a list here of your directing credits because you have so many, which we'll get into. But for this here, what was it like being named as the artistic director with your vision?
Yes, so one clarifying point. I was the co-artistic director at City Theater, but I just got a new job. I'm on my fourth day at my new job where I'm the artistic director of Alumni Theater Company, which we can get into.
Yay!
Yeah. And City Theater, I worked at City Theater honestly since I was about 22 years old. And I started in the box office. It was like one of my first jobs after I graduated college. So I worked in the box office and then I performed in shows and then eventually started teaching for the education program for the Young Playwrights Festival, which is a phenomenal program of the company. And then I started directing for the company. And at the top of the pandemic, I returned to City Theater as the associate producer. And a year later, I was promoted to co-artistic director with my colleagues Claire Drobot and Mark Masterson. And I did that for about 5 years. And then I made a change. I made a switch. And so now I am still in theater, but I am with the Alumni Theater Company here, still in Pittsburgh. And I'm the artistic director here now. And this company is very near and dear to my heart, as you'll hear, because it is a youth-based organization for Black youth when it comes to training them in theater. And I told you how I grew up. So now this is like a full circle moment for me to really give back and walk in what probably I think is my real purpose, which is being an educator, a uniter, a community builder, all through art. So being an artistic director is daunting at times. It's fun. You feel all the joy. You are responsible for setting the vision of the company, the artistic vision. So it means reading a lot of plays, getting to know a lot of artists and actors and designers and producers and agents and critics and all the people, and bringing them into your vision and having them jump on board. And City Theater is a home for new plays. And I love new plays. I love new plays. And I love working with a live playwright. Some people don't, but I don't mind. And so it's been a joy to have had that experience as co-artistic director of a regional theater that has meant so much to me, that actually was an artistic home for me once I graduated college. And to return and to go from the box office to being the first Black artistic director of the company in its 50-year history, to being the youngest, to being the first queer person in
Yes.
history to hold that position. I didn't take it lightly, and I don't today. And hopefully I won't be the last. I don't mind being the first, but as long as I'm not the last.
Because what you're doing is you're breaking, as you said, for the youth, you are pushing that door open for the next generation that is coming right after you. And
Yeah.
they're looking at that and they're saying, hey, this is something that I want to do. And especially where we're seeing so many programs and so many things being closed down, these
Mm-hmm.
children who want to study the arts, who want to go to Broadway, who want to do theater, who want to work and write and produce behind the scenes, they need that coaching, they need that shadowing, they need that skill, and you can't take these programs away from you. So again, happy Pride Month. As you said, the first Black queer, and again,
Yeah.
all of us, we have to use our platforms to make sure that we are empowering the next generation that want to tell their stories, because
It's
it's
so
not
true.
easy. It's going to be a lot of obstacles, and that was something else that I wanted to ask you. What are some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome to get to this point in your life? Because you were published in the Gazette, named Performer of the Year in 2017 in the Post Gazette. Groundbreaking
Mm-hmm.
because of your work and just you shattering these glass ceilings.
Mm, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate you bringing that back into my conscience. You know, it's not like you wake up every morning like, I was the person of the year, you know, things like that. Because of those things, while very meaningful, they can't define who you are. They can't be all of who, you know, I can't walk around with that on my forehead and expect anybody to respect me. Who am I as a person? And that's how you get people to be on your side. But to answer your question, some of the obstacles, you know, I've realized something, Stevie, some of my biggest obstacles, honestly, were myself, my mind, myself telling me, oh, you can't do that. You can't be in that room because historically, someone who's looked like you has never been in that room. So therefore, it's not meant for you. So just don't worry about it. And I went through that for a long time in my career, really psyching myself out and being my own worst critic. And I had to learn that I had to be my biggest champion. I had to be the person who would look in the mirror. I had to look in the mirror and say, you got this, Jenny. I call myself Jenny sometimes, like Jennifer Lewis. Look in the mirror and say, you got this, Jenny. You can go out there and climb this mountain and do this new thing. And so I think that that was one of my biggest obstacles, was actually my mindset in thinking, for whatever reason, because I wasn't raised like that. Something happens when you get into the real world in your mid-20s and you start to see the world for what it is, and
Yes.
you think, ooh, do I really want to be out here doing this thing? Am I worthy of it? When you see friends or colleagues or people you don't even like getting opportunities in spaces where you think, oh, I should be there. Well, God has a plan, and my plan probably wasn't to be in that room, or I would be in that room. And once I started to put that together in my head and realize that I was the only thing stopping me from achieving my goals, I decided to apply myself in a real way. And it was by reading Shonda Rhimes' book, The Year of Yes. This is not a plug, but it's just a testimony of reading that book. And I decided to say yes to auditioning for every theater company in Pittsburgh that year, and I booked every single job. And that allowed me to quit my day job, work as an artist, and a year later, I was named the Pittsburgh Performer of the Year. And by taking that leap of faith, by betting on myself and my talent and the roots that were planted inside of me and that I was planting, and how I was raised and leaned on that. But in this industry, there are a lot, it's designed to make you think you can't go through the door because those behind the door want to keep their power, and they want to keep their seat, and they want to keep their first name on the call sheet, and they don't want other people to come in necessarily and disturb that comfort. And they will do whatever it takes to keep that door closed. So there's not a also there's a real obstacle out here of keeping marginalized people marginalized, of keeping the door
Say that
closed
one
but
more
the
time for
window
me, babe.
open. Would you say?
Say that one more time for me, babe.
Keep
What you just said.
keeping keeping marginalized people marginalized. It's real. It's There is a door that is proverbially closed to us. And so that's a real obstacle. How to get past it is to be authentic, to be yourself, learn the game, learn how to play the game. Don't let the game play you. So that's how I got through some of my obstacles. But I had to learn that if I kept saying it was somebody else, I can never actually fix the problem. So I had to look within and say, well, how am I contributing to the problem? And once I realized that, then I said, you know what, I'm gonna fix myself, and then maybe everybody else will worry about themselves too, and we all will be on the right track.
A big shout outs to my brother K Tukes85 was the host of the K2 Spot. Hey brother,
Hey
welcome,
there.
welcome. And we did a few collaborations together. Me and I'm sitting here with the amazing Monteze Freeland, and we are talking about breaking those obstacles and shattering glass ceilings and what we can do to inspire the next generation that is coming forth. But I had you
Mm-hmm.
say that again because I have been talking about that throughout the past few weeks of that on my platform. My colleague Alvin Tit for Tat this and that and K Tukes and them can vouch for that. Speaking up for marginalized communities, especially with everything that we're seeing going on now, where they're trying to erase our existence out of
Mm-hmm.
everything. Um, if they don't want to give you an opportunity, you have to go and build your own opportunity. And that's for every one of us in the queer community. And our girl, you know who I'm going to mention, our girl T.S. Madison, she has
Come on.
been very, very vocal about that because she was the
Yes.
first Black trans woman to have a television show. If it wasn't for
Right.
her, you wouldn't have. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be
Well,
hosting this platform that you guys see today. It wouldn't be if it wasn't for her. She was
yeah.
the blueprint. If not her, then Laverne Cox, then Amaya
Come
Scott,
on.
and so many
Yeah.
others. Angelica Ross, all of them I could go on. But
Mm-hmm.
she was the blueprint. She shattered that glass ceiling. The first Black trans woman to have a TV show, mainstream, on WeTV. That's
My
unheard of in America. She said on Earth.
And
And
how lucky are we to see that in our lifetime? Imagine all the ancestors who never got a chance to see that, to live their authentic self, or to inspire someone else to do the same. And TS is opening that door for so many people. You can't just go get in the door and close it behind you. You got to leave it open.
that she has, and you yourself, Montez, you have carved out a path because we're going to get into some of your credits here, your directing credits. You did the Santaland Diaries, you did the Young Playwrights Festival, 2017 and 2021, Claws Out, a holiday drag musical. You did one of my favorites from Maya Angelou. I Know Why the Cage Birds Sing. You did Hairspray. You did Shrek. You did The Addams Family. You did Freaky Friday. We'd be here all day going through the list of your directing credits. But also back to T.S. Madison. She said when she did her show, she said, I want everybody Black.
Yeah.
I'm not just gonna have a show on WeTV. I want everybody to be on my production team Black. And it goes back to what you just said, which is she didn't just leave that door open. She made sure that everybody came in right after her. So
Right.
it's enough room for everybody. But I'm gonna go back to that point. She said, I want everybody Black producing this show because they reached out to her before about doing it years ago, she said. And She was saying, I want it done the right. If we gonna do it, we're gonna do it the right way. I want a whole black production team. And she was not taking no exceptions. She put her foot down. She was adamant about it. And that's how we in the queer community, if we're gonna be producing, telling our lives stories, because nobody can do it better than us. We
Come
have
on.
to make sure that we are doing that. And I think Coleman Domingo is another blueprint. Excellent. And we've seen him in Broadway. We've seen him in a couple of, we've seen him do all of these things. He's another one out here that is being a trailblazer and opening the door for the next generation of black queer actors. Jermel Simon is his name, the Upshaws, and his
Oh
husband.
yeah.
Yes, they
Yes.
both are breaking barriers in television as the first black gay couple. We see that. I mean,
Come
shows
on.
like Noah's Ark is coming back, the film
Yeah.
June 20th, and other shows like Pose open the door so that people can get a look inside the lens of us as well too. But now it's more of us in the queer community. It's not just lesbian, gay,
Come on.
bisexual. It's trans, it's non-binary, it's pan, it's
Hmm.
intersex. It's so many of us. It's not just that one lane. You want to spotlight all of the community. And what I love about T.S. Madison, what I love about uh, Coleman Domingo, and so many others is that they highlight every part of the spectrum. So that was going to be another question that I wanted to ask you as well too. Uh, how important is it that our people in our community, our family, our brothers and sisters in the queer community continue to tell their stories and highlight themselves?
I don't think people know how powerful it is to actually get your story from here and from your heart and from your brain and your gut and put it out into the world. We're constantly told to not do that. We're told to be quiet, don't tell the story, don't bring this up around this person or that person. And that's all in an effort to stifle and oppress us. And when you actually find liberation, I find liberation through my art. We talked about Nina Simone
Mm,
earlier. You know, I wish I
yes.
knew how it feels to be free, and every time I lean into my artistry, I am free. I feel free. I have free in my name. There is no way that I can live my life shackled when I have this God given name that has the word free in it. And so I think that it I'm getting a little off track, but I do think that it is important for us to tell our stories, because even if you feel like, oh, we've seen that before, people have heard that, they haven't heard it from your point of view. And they haven't heard it from your direct circumstances. You know, I grew up in the projects of Baltimore. Nothing about my childhood really said that I should be where I am right now. And so why not tell that story? Why not carry that banner? You know, and so I think that it's important for all people in the spectrum of LGBTQIA plus to embolden themselves and their friends and their community to even have story circles, just to sit around and say, here's a topic. Why don't we all tell a story from our life on, you know, the first time we fell in love, or the first time we
Mm,
felt joy with our parents, or whatever the case may be, and just sit and talk and get it out of yourself, and then somehow make it into art, because art is forever. It is forever. Even theater, which is fleeting, those memories can be forever. And that's how we last in history, because nowadays we can click of a button and we can tell our own story, and we don't have to worry about revisionist history because it's coming from ourselves. You know, 100 years ago, there weren't queer people sitting around like, let me document my whole life and put everything out there. You know, that wasn't the case, and so therefore we were told that they didn't exist and that they weren't there, but they were. And but their stories hadn't been told. So imagine if we didn't learn the lesson. Imagine if we did not learn the lesson. And we are learning the lesson. We're walking the lesson and living in it. And that's the most important aspect. So tell your story, tell it loud, tell, you know, you ain't gotta tell everything. That's my friends tell me. They're like, Tez, you ain't gotta tell it. Oh my God. But I say, well, maybe I can help somebody not do the things that I did and learn the way that I had to learn some hard lessons in these streets and in these alleys and in these, you know, thoroughfares and so forth, and say, hey, listen, I can turn my pain into triumph. I can turn my pain into art. I can turn the hard lessons into soft lessons for the next person. Because telling our story not only heals us, but it saves the next person if they're listening.
Absolutely. And when you said that, telling our stories saves us, and also turning your trauma into triumph. My colleague, shout outs to my colleague Bubs the God, did his own documentary on his life, and he
Mm-hmm.
called it Wonderfully Made, about coming out um, as a black man in the queer community, telling his story. He did a part one and then he did a part two. And it was
Come
so
on.
unique how he did it. I can't describe it. Bubs has his own little thing. I call him my little sexy leprechaun. If he's watching, shout outs to Bubs. Um, he started off, you know how a baby is born in the embryo and everything,
Mhm.
the visual aesthetic. He did that. And then it just talked about him growing up in the church. That's a thing we also talk about in the black queer community, is growing up in the church and how our upbringing was. And
Mhm.
from then there on, he took it to, okay, now the present. This is where I'm at currently. I had to go through all of these things to get to this point of my life. The
Mm.
documentary is called Wonderfully Made, and I suggest everybody head on over to the YouTubes and check it out. Amazing. Part one and part two. And he talks about his first love and how, I think a lot of queer people can relate to that as well too. Not being able to take your first love to the prom, things
Oh.
like that. All of those little different things
Mhm.
he covered in there, and how theater, because he also did theater as well too, and how theater was an escape for him, a drama, creating arts, and how the theater kids would treat him differently compared to the kids who would tease him and pick on him and bully him. So
Yeah.
powerful short story, powerful testimony. Again, he put it all out there, and I think a lot more of us in the community are starting to be more bold and vocal and put it out there as well too. Because if it's causing you trauma, speak about it. If it's causing you pain, speak about it. Oh, it's 5 parts. Thank you, Alvin. Yes, wonderfully made, and it is 5 parts. So make sure that you guys go and check it out from beginning to end. You won't be disappointed. And I think a lot more of us, because T.S. Madison is coming out with her story. She's already in the talks with, I think, either Tyler Perry or Patrick Ian Polk, one of the two,
Ooh.
to do her life story
Come
and
on.
own it. Because we wouldn't have the Madison we did today. I mean, to be on Beyonce's album, to have all of these accolades coming her way. She has a day named after her, May 23rd. So, I mean, you got to know her story from the beginning. She said, "Oh, baby, I've been through a lot." And Maddie's an icon. And I think by her telling her story, it can help so many people. So that's what we got to do. And it goes back to what Montez just said, which is we can't allow somebody to tell our story for us. We got to do it ourselves because, for one, we're black and we're already marginalized. The system has already got us oppressed. They want to suppress and take away our voices, which is what you're seeing right now with them erasing anything. I mean, when I seen it, they want to erase Harvey Milk. I'm just like, do you know that black people and queer people, we are deeply ingrained in this country. So anything you do, you can't erase our history. You can't erase the
No.
fabric of us. We will still be there because people know the true history of this country, from Bayard Rustin to truth tellers like James Baldwin, who I love. And when I seen in your directing credits, you said, I know why the case bird sings. Maya Angelou, she was also a truth teller. So
Yeah.
to see
Hmm.
people just try to erase our history of our people, from Maya Angelou to Angela Davis and so many others who are out here being at the forefronts of the lines. Nikki Giovanni is another one of my favorite writers too. So
Yes.
it's key and critical that we preserve this history, this literature, more than ever, to my brothers and sisters in the queer community. And with
Hmm.
it being Pride Month, Montez, that was going to be another question that I wanted to ask you. What does pride mean to you?
Mm. That's such a good question. What does pride mean to me? I think pride to me means that you can feel secure, you can feel safe, psychologically safe and secure in who you are. I think pride comes with honor. I think pride comes with dignity and self-respect. And I think it comes with a little bit of fun, a little bit of saying, you know what? if I'm gonna be here, my if I didn't swim and I was the sperm that beat the race, and I'm gonna be here, and I said I wanted to be here because I beat everybody else to get here, then I gotta at least make it worthwhile. And so I think having pride, and specifically when it comes to being part of the community, it really is about how do you live your best authentic life, knowing that there are barriers and parameters that we all as people must operate in. But also, I think just going to sleep at night with no regrets. I may be mad at what someone else did, but if I can go to sleep at night and say, Tez, you did okay today. You did all right today. Then that brings me joy and brings me pride. And I'm so glad to see pride now celebrated in such a way. While I'm not a big crowd person, I prefer a nice little brunch with some jazz and, a little singer on stage and when while I'm not necessary. And I don't like the heat. I wish we could do this thing in like November or something, but being out in the streets and everything, it may not be my jam, but I'm grateful that people are out there spreading the word and living authentically. Call me for the brunch because I will be there for
Yes.
that for sure. But I remember as a teenager, I used to sneak down to Baltimore Pride. Called sneaking down. You're outside. You ain't sneaking nowhere. But I used to sneak down the Pride, and it just felt like this sort of oasis away from life where I would see people and I would see teachers and I would see community folks that I knew. And I would go, oh, that's why I enjoyed that person. Well, that's why that person was so funny to me, or that's why I was attracted to that person. It's like we family. We part of the same understanding and the same cloth. So I am so grateful that we still have the right to be publicly and to be in the world and let our flags fly. So happy Pride Month for sure. I'm so grateful to be part of the community.
And pride, because I know you were probably going to ask me, pride for me means living authentic, being your bold, true self without apologies, without fear. As we talk about Nina Simone, she also did it. I'm pretty sure y'all have seen the video clip of her saying this. She said, what does freedom mean to me? No fear. Living in no fear, living unapologetically on your own terms, as we see with T.S. Madison, who is vibrant, who is vibracious. She doesn't
Yes.
care. Maddie does not care. Seeing
No.
the likes of uh, Lil Nas be his authentic self when he first
Mm-hmm.
came out, he was
Mm-hmm.
in a shell. But then when he came out, it's like, okay, this is who I am to the world. You can either take it or leave it. To see Khalid perform at his first Pride and
Yeah.
share
It was so
his,
emotional.
it was like, okay, this is my first time doing this. We welcome you. We welcome you. Pride is about happiness. It is about fun. And of course, the food, because I love to eat also too.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
Pride
Yes.
is about living in your truth, walking in your light. Because when you live in a lie, you have to tell another lie to cover that lie and that lie. Why live in a lie?
Come
Live
on.
your authentic, true self and be who you are unapologetically and never water yourself down for anybody. Because for queer people, for us, we have been told you got to tone it down. You got to tone it down. It's not of God, it's not this. Let people be happy. Pride means happiness. Pride means joy. And that's what I say pride is.
Yes. Have you ever gone to like World Pride or like the really big, big, big celebrations?
I want to go. I want to go.
Okay.
When I see Mariah Carey perform, I said, oh, and I'm a big Mariah fan.
Yes.
I said, I want to go. I love Meg and Mariah at the same
Mm-hmm.
time. I want to see them both. But my colleagues, Alvin, Tit for Tat, this and that, and then my other colleague, Bubs the God, they have attended Pride. I would love to go. Me and my
Yeah.
girlfriend, we have been talking about having like a girls' day out, going out there to the Pride and seeing it. But yes, I'd say to everybody, live
Yeah.
for
That's
that.
good. What's
Live
your
for
sign?
that.
What's your sign? Your birth
I am
sign?
a Scorpio. I'm a
Scorpio.
Scorpio.
Okay, you're the second Scorpio I talked to this week. That's cool. That's cool.
Yes. Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. And this conversation is so good. Fashion dolls, do y'all have any questions for myself or Montez? And I hope you all are enjoying it as well too. It's Pride Month, and I still want to make sure that I'm highlighting all intersections of the community. You're going Saturday? No, Sunday. You said Alvin,
Day. That,
Dallas. Yes, and
yeah.
we're going to continue to celebrate. They thought that they were going to try to stop us from celebrating. We're still going to celebrate. We're still outside. We're still seeing our friends. And the beauty of it, I'm going to go back to what you just said, seeing so many different, yes, it's the queer community. We're not a monolith. The LGBT
No.
plus community, we are not a monolith. It is so many alphabets in the letter, and it's so many facets of us, so many walks of life, so many different
Hmm.
cultures, how people style themselves, how people do their makeup, whatever. People always define their authentic self just from having that pride alone. So shout outs to our allies who are out here supporting and empowering us and speaking up for us. So
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. You know, last year I wrote a play called Fishy Woo Woo, and it basically is about four friends, three friends, two who are queer identifying and a woman who is cis, and she and straight. And so it's about their friendship and how they really will go to bat for one another, especially if a man has come in there and sort of hurt any of them. And so it's a raucous comedy, and it played at the Pittsburgh Playwrights Theater Company last June during Pride. And I cannot tell you the amount of people, older white people, who have stopped me on the street and will just yell fishy woo woo at me. And I'm like, girl, how you know about this play? And they're like, we love the play. We saw it twice. I brought friends to see it. And I said, well, what did you love about it? And he said, for me, I could relate to those characters because I loved my friends as much as they loved each other.
Yes.
And he said it did not matter what their orientation was. So, well, their orientation does matter. It does matter, you know, because that's their truth. And they weren't saying it in a slight, but I think sometimes people want to find where you can agree and where they can feel the same sort of heartbeat and pathos that is happening between a character and themselves. And when they find that, they realize that we are much more aligned than we are different, and they were able to call up a friend and say, look, I saw this play, we got to go see this. And it's not about us, but it is about us and our experience. And I've found that the more specific you are in your art, the more universal it actually is. I think when you try to write with big broad strokes and not really get into the nitty gritty and the heart and truth of a situation and the nuance of life, then people will just ignore it. But if you write truly, authentically, and truthfully about an experience, more than likely we all have gone through that experience. And
Absolutely. And
mm,
I love that you chose to highlight that. Like I said, with Noah's Ark, Noah's Ark was our show. It was Noah's Ark, it was the
come
DL
on.
Chronicles, it was Pose, it was all of
Hmm.
these shows that highlighted parts of our community
The
and
big gay
introduced
sketch
us.
comedy show that was
Yes.
big. Coleman was on that. That was huge when Logo first came. Look, I'm old. When Logo first came out, I remember I was there, was watching it. It was like a channel. What? You know,
For
like.
us,
Hmm.
so that we can see the representation, we can see all of our films. They would air our films on there, and that's
Yeah.
how we got introduced to Noah's Ark and all of the
Hmm.
other shows as well. To Finding Me is another one. Shout outs to
Yeah.
Roger Amias Jr., OME Pro. Talks with Myself will be returning back for season 6, and
Oh,
again that
nice.
highlights also intersections of our community as well, to not just the queer community but also the hetero community as well too, and how we balance, how we interact with each other and community. The same thing that we have in common is that we're Black. The only thing that's different is our sexuality and who we choose to
Mhm.
love. But at the end of the day, that one thing that we have in common is us being Black and us having to work together and unite, especially more than ever. So
Yeah.
that was
Because if
an
we ain't
important.
sleeping together, then it's like we don't need to talk about it.
Right.
That's how I feel. I'm not trying to get with you, so you're not trying to get with me. So what we need to talk about? It shouldn't even matter. We're gonna put in our 8 hours, and we gonna go home and live our best life. You know, so we just have to be tolerant. We just, and even inside of our community, you know, I do want to say that we have work to do inside of our community as well, to being much more tolerant and kinder to one another and knocking down these barriers of I don't want this and I don't want that. And that's fine. but also think about what that means to say that out loud. And we can't become our oppressor. We can't use the tools that were used to put us down to make others higher. That we can't use that. That's not appropriate, and we have to call it out every time. And I see it. I find that, I don't know if you find this as well, but when like I'm watching a video, I could be watching a simple video. It could be two guys, two young men, and all of a sudden maybe one hugs the other and the other one doesn't respond. He like maybe reciprocates. I'm making this up. And I'll go to the comments. Every day I'm attacked in comments as a queer person before a black person. I would probably have to take a little bit of time to find like a racist comment sometimes, but it would take no time to find a homophobic slur or comment or sort of double talk of where are all the real men, God is coming back, and and all these things where I've realized that I don't know if we made the true progress in the world and in the psyche of folks that we think that we have, because you go to those comment sections and it is treacherous. And but you know what? It reminds me. It keeps the fire going. It reminds me to not give up. I can't just stop by writing one play and think, all right, I did it. Nope. I'm gonna keep my foot on their heads and keep telling our stories, because it's I worry about the danger. I worry about the danger. And if we don't come together as a community, shoot, they're going to come in and rip it apart.
They already doing it now as we see. They're trying to
Mm-hmm.
divide us. And it is key and
Mm-hmm.
crucial and important that we continue to keep educating, bringing awareness. You have people like myself on the front line, yourself, Montez, my colleagues, Alvin, Tit and Tat, this for that. Shout outs to Deshaun. Shout outs to Boss Man, the Objectivist. Shout outs to Harold Cordero. Shout outs to Keon. Shout outs to my brother K Tukes. All of us were highlighting it in some sort of way and on our platforms.
Yes.
Because again, where you thinking that you're trying to divide us is only bringing other people in the community who have never met. Like we've never even met. You said that today. We've
Mm-hmm.
never met face to face. We've been talking and conversating, but this is our time together meeting for the first time. And you guys are seeing it also too if you're watching this, if you go back and watch the playback. But this is what we need right now. These type of
Yes.
conversations need to be had within our community. And there are so many platforms out here like Dear Gay Black Men. You have T.S. Madison and Craig, they have their show together. So I
Yes.
mean, each and every one of us, Herbie, I can't remember his name, Herbie Revelis. It's so many LGBT black platform artists out here who are telling their story, who are also highlighting and bringing awareness to all of the things that we that keep us separated. Because you said again, you can sometimes become that oppressor's tool,
Oh,
reciting
yeah.
the same thing as that oppressor. And we have to sometimes check that. So it's a lot of work that needs to be done within our community. And I won't stop trying to bring us together because I haven't had any tiff with any of my brothers in the community. I haven't. Everybody shows me so much love because I just have
Good.
a personality where it's just like, wow, she's easy to get along with. And I'm from South Carolina. I'm a Southern girl. So,
Oh,
Southern
yeah.
girls down here in the South, we're easy to get along with. Easy to get
Yes.
along with. And my mother raised me to be that way. She said, you don't judge nobody, but I was also brought up in a strict Christian household.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that kind of made me rebel a little bit. My mama
Mm-hmm.
was Bible thumping. Like we went to church every Sunday, Baptist church. I mean, the big ladies, we're talking tongue talking, double stomping,
Mm-hmm.
fans, uh, what else did they wear? The pearls up to here. I mean,
Mm.
that's what kind of church, real deep down South church in South
Yeah.
Carolina. And I mean, they be getting it on that tambourine and drums and stuff. But that's what I was brought up in. But my
Yeah.
mother also taught me not to judge people. She taught me to make sure that you are treating people with kindness. And I extend the grace. I try to extend grace to people in our community to get to know them and their stories. So that's why it's important that we have these healing conversations now more than ever, especially when a time where they're trying to erase our existence and make theirs the truth when we know the real truth that Black people and queer people have been fighting here for decades, for centuries.
Absolutely. Yeah. You bring in religion is so impactful and important because we supposed to be these devil worshippers,
That's what
which
they
is not
claim.
the
Yeah,
case. We're very faithful people in that sense. You have to have faith in order to live through this life and these experiences and this world, and to think that it's going to be okay. That's faith, because everything is showing us that it shouldn't be and it's not. So and I want the next story. Well, maybe not the next. I got a couple more in the hopper before I can write this one. But I grew up. My mother's side was Catholic, deeply Catholic, and Black Catholic, and even I have a great aunt who was a nun, and she lived to be about in her 90s. She passed away maybe 2-3 years ago at this point. And but on my father's side was Jehovah's Witness. So I was at Kingdom Hall on Thursday nights and in Mass on Sundays. And so it was these two sort of religions that didn't necessarily live in conversation with one another, but they lived in conversation inside of me. And it was such a unique way of growing up that I can't wait to tell that story, because here I am in the middle of Catholicism and being a Jehovah's Witness and being my wild, crazy self who loved musicals and would dress up and put on shows, and people didn't know what to do with me. But I knew I also loved God. I knew that God was a huge aspect of my life, whether or not it was put on me or whether or not it came through, some sort of understanding. But faith, I remember my grandmother saying, like, be whoever you're going to be in this world, but be yourself and always put God first. And for me, that means either literal God or good, orderly direction, or
mm,
it could mean just being the best that you can be to hopefully show people that there is purity in this world, that there is joy, that there are people who are connectors and who aren't necessarily bad actors in that sense. So, yeah. What did he say? He said, we're demonic. Oh, Lord.
that's
That's what
what
they
they would
think.
say.
Like, Lord.
We're demonic.
Hmm.
That's what they would say about us. We're sinners. We're demonic. But to each his own. Let people live their truth authentically.
Come
Let
on.
people be happy in themselves, because everybody has sinned. It doesn't make one greater than the other. We all have
Yeah.
our flaws and imperfections, but you know what? That's what makes us human, is the fact that we all have our own personalities, our own identities. We love who we want to love. If we were all in the world the same, I mean, it would be boring. It would be quite boring. I would want
People
to be
like
like a
boring,
polka
apparently.
dot in a room full of squares. I want to stand out. And I think a lot of people want to stand out authentically. So that's what I
Yeah.
would say to people, is just live in your light, live in your truth, especially before we wrap. That was a question that I wanted to ask you as well too. What advice would you give to our younger generation that is following in our footsteps, the next generation of queer youth that is following in our footsteps? What would you tell them?
I would say listen. So often, young people, I think, don't want to listen because they are exploring and they're discovering and they are experiencing in the moment. So they're very much in the present. And I think that their feelings are so big and so new that listening to others, there's not always a lot of patience for it and space for it. But I would say, listen, you don't have to follow what everyone has told you, but listen to what they're saying. Listen to the subtext, listen to the lesson, because there's nothing new in this world. They're not going to experience something new. We're telling them, hey, look, you're probably going to come up against this. You're going to come up against somebody who will try to use
Yeah,
you. You're going to come up against somebody who's going to abuse whatever you have. You're going to come up against people who don't know what to do with you and going to try to put you in certain boxes so that they can understand you. And I think that the biggest thing is to keep an open heart and to listen, to be smart about the people that you put around you. Like, I have a no losers policy. I don't hang around with bums. I don't hang around with people who don't have anything going on. You got to go to work. If you want to be my
do
friend,
something for
you
yourself.
got to have your own. We too old to be sitting up here living off of somebody else or something else. And so I think that it's also about having that autonomy as well. So I think find your independence, surround yourself with quality minded people, have fun. Life is so short. Life is so short. I almost died last year, and I learned from them. I was like, I'm gonna live my life. I'm gonna have me some fun. I'm gonna get a new job. I'm gonna live out my purpose, because you never know when your last day is going to be. And that impression that you make on the world is what is left once you're gone. You can't go back and fix anything. Can't go back and apologize. So do it while you're here, and learn history. That's the biggest thing I tell young people. Learn
Yes.
history. It's at your fingertips. It's right there. We had to call it. I had to call up the library to ask questions or break out the encyclopedia growing up. You don't have to do that no more. It's right there in your fingertips. So learn history, respect each other, keep that door open, and listen to us. Somebody called me an elder queer not long ago, and I was like, "Damn, how the heck I get here?" But shoot, but but listen to it. If you're gonna call me that, that means you gotta listen to me. Then that's what I would say.
And that's from your experience. And my final thought ties into what you just said, which is being an elder, being someone who leads, who takes charge and points people in the next direction. Today's final thought is very simple, and it comes from Melissa Etheridge. She says love is never wrong.
Mm,
Love can lead the way. Love is exceptional, and everybody deserves it. No matter what creed, what religion, what your sexuality is, everyone deserves to have love. And I think more so in this dark time more than ever, love can drown out the hate. So that's what
yeah,
I would say to people. And I have such a gentle spirit, but I also have my limits. So I'm stirring in a way. But
Scorpio.
I think I think we need that more than ever. We're seeing everything that is going on in LA and Los Angeles and to our community being torn apart. Love
Hmm.
is the answer within our community. And I think we have to come together and be willing to have healing conversations. Because I'm definitely going to bring Montez back on the show. I would love to have you back on again
Me too.
because we need this. We need people in our community to see that, yes, all aspects of the community can come together. And I go with my colleagues, Alvin, Tit for Tat, this and that, and my other colleagues, Deshaun and Harold and Bubs and Bossman, all of them. And we do panels and we have these type of discussions on what goes on in the world and everything. And you get to see all of the layers. It's like when you look at the queer community, you go into an ice cream shop, you're seeing all of the different flavors. You're not just getting one specific flavor. It's like an array of colors, hair textures, of sexualities, people expressing themselves. That's what love is. Love
Mm.
is expression. Love is self expression. And I say to everybody, express yourself freely, boldly, and in color. Show up. What does Madison say? Live and in color. And that's what we have to do. Show up as ourselves. And never let anybody tell you that you have to tone down, because in the queer community, as we're coming out or coming into our own, what have we been told? You need to tone that down. Don't stand that way. Don't do this. You know it's going to make you look like this. But it's just like, okay, enough
Hmm.
with this. Now it's time for me to walk into my light. So again, love is
Because
never
when we
wrong.
do
Where
all
can
that,
everybody
they
feel?
still won't let us in the room. We can do all of that, and they still find something to say no, thank you. You can't be here. So why even try to do it? Just be who you are. Let them
Yes.
suffer.
The best version of yourself, the best version of yourself, y'all. And don't
Yes.
let anybody tell you to have to tone yourself down. You have to conform. That's what we've been told. So be yourself. So before we let you go, Montez, do you have anything? What can we expect from you in this year 2025? Because we are not going to stop. We're going to keep continuing to bring awareness and highlight our stories, and more importantly, tell our truths to people.
Yeah, so 2025, the second half of 2025 has me so excited about life, about art, and my artistry, and working with these youth here in Pittsburgh at Alumni Theater Company, where I'm in the dressing room right now. I had to find a space so we could talk. Yeah, I'm on day 4 of the job, so I couldn't go home and do this. So, but um, I think that I'm so excited about working, having a direct connection to the youth of this city and being able to instill the beautiful gems that have been given to me by mentors, by family members, by friends, and to pass that along. So that's what I'm most excited about in 2025. We have some amazing productions coming up. If folks want to go to alumni theater company org and see what we have on the slate for season 18. This organization has been around for almost 18 years now. And, you know, turning 18 is big. You learn a lot when you turn 18, a lot of changes. And I'm happy to be a part of this coming of age season for the organization. And so I'm really excited about the art that is in my life, both here at the company, but also personally as I work on pieces that I've kind of shelved for many years. And now I kind of have a little bit of time to get to it and to write it and to create it and to sing it and put it all together. I'm looking forward to getting back on the stage. I haven't acted in like about 4 years. And so it's exciting and it's time for me to get back because I'm seasoned. I have some life experience. I need a place to yell and emote as well. So I'm excited to get backstage in the next year in a very exciting project that I can't talk about just yet. But when I can, I will, and I'm gonna let you know because I'm gonna come back and we can
Yes,
talk
because I
about
want to
that
bring you
show
back.
for sure. And so I'm looking forward to all the joy and the abundance that is to come in 2025. And I wish the same for you. I really do. I hope that so many of your wishes and dreams and hopes come to fruition this year and stand in front of you and say, you asked for it, here we are. And that you get to hold it and touch it and love on it and that it loves on you back.
Yes, and the same for you, vice versa. It was such
Thank
a
you.
pleasure meeting you and having you here. So before we let you go, where can everyone follow you and check you out?
Well, you can follow me on my Instagram page, Montez Gary. I think that's what it is. I don't have a lot of Instagram friends on there because I run my mouth too much. But you can follow me on Facebook where I'm much more, would say, palatable on Facebook under Montez Freeland there. And come on and join. Don't be posting no crazy stuff because I'm going to have to say something about it if you do. But I look forward to having some new friends and inviting some folks into the world as I see it. I always say that, you know, what I post and what I put into the world is through my lens, and that's valid. It may not be your cup of tea, but it doesn't mean that it's not my experience. So come on over to the party.
The Alumni Theater Fashion Dolls. Make sure you guys go
Not
and
theater.
support and check out everything that Montez is doing. Fashion Dolls. I love you all so much. Again, to my brothers and sisters in the community, happy Pride Month. Every day for us is Pride. Live and be your authentic, bold, true self. And Montez, I had such a great time chatting with you, and I would love to have you back on again.
Same. Thank you for today. This has been awesome. And I'm gonna be tuning in for the next ones to come and call me. You know I'm gonna say yes. So call
Yes.
me.
All right, Fashion Dolls. And this interview will be uploaded to Style by Stevie Daytime so you can catch it from beginning to end. Joining me tomorrow, we have Waddell Holmes. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow as well. I love you all. Take care and be safe.
Bye.
Take care.